Hello everyone, this is a summary of the lesson that we had in the morning. So, let's talk about the first part of the test, section 1, reading and use of English. Now, concerning this part, something that we have to remember is that the reading and use of English section contains 7 parts and it lasts 1 hour and 15 minutes. The first part concerns reading and it is a multiple choice clause where you have to select the best option. Section number 2 is an open clause, and in this case what it means is that you have a text and you have blanks and you have to figure out the best word. You have no options, you have no clues, you only have the text and you have to use the context of the text and the content in order to find the word. This part assesses the use of English. Now, part number 3 is also about use of English, and in this case it's word formation, and specifically you have to use an affixation process. That means that they will give you a text with some blanks to fill out and you will have a base word, but you have to transform this word to change it into a noun or into a verb or into the past participle in order to be able to use it. So part number 3 is about affixation. Now let's look at part number 4. In part number 4 you have a keyword sentence transformation task. That means that you have a sentence, they give you a keyword and you have to change the sentence using that keyword, keeping exactly the same meaning, right? So this part assesses your use of the language. Part number 5 is a reading multiple choice task. Basic thing that you already know. There is a text, there are some questions with multiple choice for you to select the correct answer. Part number 6 is a gap text. That means that you have a longer text, but in this case some sentences have been removed from different paragraphs, and what you have to do is to find what sentence belongs to what paragraph. This part assesses reading comprehension. Finally, part number 7 assesses reading, and it's a multiple matching task. That means that you have a series of short text with answers related to the text, and you have to find which of these answer relates to which of the little text. That means that you select different text in order to match to different answers. It's a multiple matching task, and as I already said, it assesses reading comprehension. So, summarizing, this is the structure of the reading and use of English section in Cambridge B2. Now let's see specifically what kind of things are being assessed. This is the construct of the use of English section. First of all, this part assesses your grammatical competence and your ability to complement a sentence to select the correct word or words in order to complete an idea in a text. Number 2, they assess the use of collocations. If you remember, there are some words that go better with some other nouns, or that some verbs take specific preposition. That's what we call collocation. They're groups of words that go together, and this is another element that is assessed in the use of English section. Now, a second element that is assessed is lexical competence, and in this case, of course, will assess your knowledge of multi-word or phrasal verbs, right? All of those to go, to fall into, to bump into, to call out, to call off, and things like that. Another element that is assessed is the use of idiomatic expressions in English that you should be able to understand the meaning of. And of course, the semantic precision. That means that you have to find the correct word in order to fill a space in a sentence that has the meaning that is intended by the author in the text where the word needs to be added. A final element in use of English is discourse competence, because in order to be able to complete the task, you need to be able to know the structure of a text. That means that if there is a missing word, you need to know what word it is. Is it a connector? Is it a noun? Is it a verb? You need to be able to identify the part of the text that is missing. And of course also cohesion and coherence, because the text is a unit that is closely tied by all of the different elements and all of the different connectors and reference, and in order to find the correct word, in order to complete a text, you need to be able to know how the text hangs together. Okay, so this is basically, like I said, the construct that is measured in the use of English section. They're going to assess grammatical competence, lexical competence, but also discourse competence. Now let's take a look at the 3 skills that you need in order to be able to succeed at the use of English section of Cambridge's B2 First. Number 1, you need to be able to find a missing word in a text using only the contextual, discourse, and grammatical clues. So in other words, you have to have a very good knowledge of the discourse structure. The second skill that you need to succeed at this test is affixation, and this consists in, given a base word, you should be able to add the appropriate prefixes or suffixes to match the content of a text. In other words, as I previously said, you need to be able to change a noun into a verb or an adjective into an adverb and so on. You need to be able to add or eliminate the prefixes or suffixes in a word in order to be able to match a specific space in a text. Finally, the last skill that you need is to be able to rephrase a sentence giving a key word and keeping the pragmatic meaning. This is called transformation task. So they will give you a sentence, they will give you a key word, and you have to rewrite the sentence using that word so that the sentence keeps the same pragmatic meaning. In other words, that it means exactly the same. So these are the 3 basic skills that you're going to need: discourse structure, affixation, and transformation. Now, in the next section, we're going to look at some examples of tasks so that you get a clear idea of what you need to do in each of these parts of the use of English section. This is an example of part 2, and in this case the first skill is tested, being able to find a missing word in a text using only and only the contextual, discourse, and grammatical clues. You get 1 point for each correct answer, and normally the first one, number 0, is an example. So let's see, I'm just going to read it and I'm going to complete the words. We already look at this in class, so it's just for you to review and remember. The River Thames has played an important role in London's history, and in fact was the reason for its foundation. We need a possessive pronoun for the word London. Ever since the city's beginnings, when it was a Roman Empire trading post and military base, the River Thames has connected London with the wider world beyond. Now, if you see here, we need an indicator of time, and then we have the expression ever since. Okay, ever since is always, is used together to mean that you're talking about a point in the past. Let's continue. Number 10. At the height of the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century, the London docks were full of merchant ships. Now, if you see here, because we're talking about the height of the Industrial Revolution, we need to specify a specific point in time, and to do that, we need the preposition at the height, okay? So, number 11, London was the biggest port in the world. Of course, we need there at the determined article there, because we're talking about the biggest port in the world, with hundreds of ships sailing to and from all 5 continents. Today, much of that river traffic has disappeared, but the empty docklands have burst back into life. Let's see. Number 12. Place of the old buildings with the smashed windows and broken roofs are expensive homes and riverside walks. So if you see in this case, we're talking about something that was in the past and something that happens in the present. In the past, there were old buildings with smashed windows and broken roofs, and today there are homes, offices, and riverside walks. So we need to see then that number 12 will be in place of the old buildings. That means instead of the old buildings, now there are expensive homes, offices, and riverside walks. They are renowned as, right? There is this expression, to be known as, right? Canary Wharf has become a very desirable neighborhood. Miles of new and improved roads have also been built, as well as an ultra-modern and convenient airport. So there are miles of new improved roads and also an airport. So as well is an expression that means in addition to. Okay? So a convenient airport which is extremely well served by public transport, or that is extremely well served by public transport. So in this case we need to add a relative pronoun, and it can be that or which. So this is basically what we need to do. You will have a text, you will have some blanks, and you have to find the correct word just by looking at the contextual, discourse, and grammatical clues within the text itself. Now, how can you prepare for this part of the test? My suggestion is, first of all, that you search for articles on everyday topics. I will give you a list of topics later. In sources such as The Guardian, The Observer, or The Times, these are very famous British journals, and I suggest that you use British journals because B2 First is a British test, so everything that you will find will be in British English. So you will find some articles on everyday topics: travel, cities, commerce, science, and so on. The second thing that you're going to do is you're going to select some articles that are just between 150 and 200 words. Okay? Now, of course, some of the articles will be very long, and in this case, I suggest that you take just the introductory paragraphs, when the texts are too long. Just the first two introductory paragraphs. Select a segment that is just between 150 and 200 words, because that's what the kind of things that you will find in the test. And after you have done that, you may download them and then edit them digitally so that you can create your own close exercises by eliminating every 10th word in the text, and you're going to replace it with a blank. In other words, you're going to create your own exercises. After you have eliminated the words, now you will read the text again, and you will try to find out the word that is missing, the word that you removed. And of course, because you're going to eliminate every 10th word, the kind of words that you will eliminate will be random. Sometimes there will be nouns, sometimes there will be articles, prepositions, verbs, adverbs, and so on. Okay? So you will try to answer, and then you will check your answers with the original text. This is very useful as a practice, because not only will you learn about the words and the exercises that you're going to be creating, but also you will get some information about new topics. You will learn new vocabulary, you will learn some expressions and new words that you will find in the text. So it's a very useful exercise that will prepare you for part number 2 in the use of English section. Okay, so try to do this. This is very, very useful, and this will prepare you more than just like completing grammar exercises. Let us now turn to part 3. In this case, the ability that you need to put into action is that ability to add appropriate prefixes or suffixes to match the content of a text. So if you see in this case, you are given a text with blanks and other clues, but the good thing is that you get keywords. These words are given in the base form, and what you have to do is to add or remove the appropriate prefixes or suffixes in order to match the word to the content of the text. Let's see how we can do this. International Pen Friends, IPF, started off as a small, we have a small, it's an adjective, and we have previously an indefinite article, so we need a noun, and the noun of operate is operation. Started off as a small operation in 1967. The organization now has 300,000 members in 210 countries, and we have the word world, so we need here an adverb. We need an adverbial, and if we add wild to world, we have the word worldwide, which is an adverbial that we need to locate the places where the members are, okay? In 210 countries worldwide, which means all around the world. It appeals to people of all ages, and IPF members come from all walks of life to use this guaranteed friend. We have the word serve, and of course the word that we need is service, this guaranteed friend service. Members are given a list of 14 names and addresses of people they might like to correspond with. But writing letters or exchanging emails, we have the word credible, we have the word easy. If it's easy, easy is an adjective, and it can modify by an adverb, so we need an adverbial then again, and we can say incredibly easy. It is incredibly easy to learn more about geography, travel, and foreign languages. And once two pen pals have built up we have friend, and obviously that in this case we need a noun such as friendship. Have built up a friendship and know that they get on with each other, they can explore the possibility or possibilities of visiting each other on holiday, because emailing is a very chatty and friendly way to communicate. And we have the word relate, so we need the word relationship in plural. Some relationships are bound to blossom. IPF is keen that the club is seen as and we have extend, so we need a noun because there is an indefinite article n, so extension to other social networking sites. It's a safer way of meeting, and we have the word differ. We have people, so we need an adjective, different people, because everyone has to be checked out by the club. So if you see here, what we need to do is we need to transform the words that we have in the most appropriate way so that they match the content, the meaning, and the grammar of the text. So part number 3 is all about affixation. You have base words, you need to be able to transform them, to adapt them so that they match the content of the text. Now, how can we prepare for this part of the test? Okay, what I suggest that you do is that you write a list of at least 100 common words in English. Like, remember that it has to be content words, okay? Words that have meaning by themselves, nouns, articles, adjectives, and so on. So you make a list of these words and some others that you could be interested in. If you have the Empower B2, you may take your list of words from there, because there's actually a list of words there. And then you're going to create a table that you're going to label after different parts of speech. Parts of speech means grammatical categories, and you're going to fill out the table. This is one example. Imagine that I am interested in the word happy, right? And then I need to see what nouns, what verbs, what adjectives, or what adverbs can be made by using the base word happy. And of course we have the nouns happiness, unhappiness, the final verbs. Happy cannot be a verb. We have adjectives such as happy and unhappy, and we have adverbs such as happily and unhappily. So you're going to complete this table, and you're going to figure out how different words can be transformed to change the part of speech, to change the grammatical category. This is a very useful exercise, and it's going to help you a lot because you will fill in the gaps that you have in your lexical repertoire. I think this is a very useful exercise, not only for the test, but also to improve your proficiency in general. Now let's turn to part 4. In this case, the ability that you need to succeed at this task is transformation. This means that they will give you a sentence and they will give you a keyword, and what you need to do is to rephrase the sentence using the keyword so that the sentence keeps its pragmatic meaning, that it means exactly the same. Okay, and in this part you get 2 points for every correct answer and 1 point for a partially correct answer. This is one example. Shall we go to the cinema? Said Susie. And in this case, of course, the keyword is suggested. So we have a part of the sentence, Susie, and then the cinema. We need to complete, and the correct answer will be Susie suggested we go to the cinema. Susie suggested that we go to the cinema, or Susie suggested that we went to the cinema, or Susie suggested we went to the cinema. If you see, the word that is optional, and also you can use the verb in present, go, or in past, went, if you want to match for the reported speech, because basically that's what we're doing. It could be present, it could be past. So as you can see here, there are different possibilities for the correct answer, and there is another option which will be Susie suggested going to the cinema. Okay, so each of these answers will be correct if you write them correctly, and some parts, if you see, such as that, are optional. Something important, I repeat, that you need to keep in mind is that there is not a single correct answer. There are different possibilities. Here's another example. Reserving a seat on the train isn't necessary, and you need to use the word need. So you get you blank a seat on the train, and we can complete it again in different ways. First, we can say you need not reserve a seat on the train, or you needn't reserve a seat on the train. The second option will be the one that you are more familiar with. You don't need to reserve a seat on the train. You don't need to reserve a seat on the train. Now, something that I want you to pay attention to is that the verb need can be a modal verb, okay? And when we use it as a modal verb, it doesn't take the preposition to, and you make the negative just by adding not. In the same way that you do with other modal verbs, such as should, you say should, should not, must, must not, can, cannot, could, couldn't, okay? So in this case, you will say you need not reserve, or you needn't reserve. This is a formal register of the language. Need, not, and needn't are part of the formal register of the language, right? So but if you want to use the verb need just as a verb, as a main verb, in this case you would use do not, right? And you need the preposition to. Do not need to, don't need to, and this is informal language, okay? This is the more informal style. You don't need to reserve a seat on the train. Let's look at another example. Number 27. Could you close the window, please? And you have to use the word mind. So would the window, please? And of course, there is just one correct answer in this case. Would you mind closing the window, please? Let's look at 28. 28. Joe no longer eats between meals, and we have to use the word up. Then we have again the word Joe, the blank, and then between meals. So if you see here, we need to use a multi-word verb, which is if he no longer eats between meals, that means that he has given up eating between meals, or that he gave up eating between meals. So if you see here, we need a multi-word verb, which is to give up something, not to do something anymore. Okay, so this is basically the correct answer. You can use the present perfect, has given up, or you can use the past simple, gave up. But it is important that you use this multi-word verb. Let's look at the last two examples. I last saw John 2 months ago. You have to use the word for, and you have I, and then you have 2 months. So you need to say I have not, or I haven't seen John for 2 months. You only change the structure, because if you saw it 2 months ago, that means that you haven't seen it for 2 months, right? Okay, so number 30, that's the last one. Amy's parents did not allow her to stay out late at night, and you have to use the word let. So Amy's parents blank out late at night. So in this case, you just have to say Amy's parents did not or didn't let her stay out late at night. If you see, you can repeat the name Amy, or you can replace it with the pronoun her. Both options are correct. And again, I repeat, you can use the contractions or not. The answer will be correct if you have the correct structure. So Amy's parents did not or didn't let her stay out late at night. So this is basically what you have to do in part number 4 of the reading and use of English section of Cambridge's B2 First. Now again, how can I prepare for this part? What do you have to do to prepare to this part? First of all, my suggestion again is that you make a list of at least 50 multi-word verbs that you know. You can take them from your Empower B2, or you can take it from different sources. You can look them up. And then also a list of at least 20 B2 level grammatical structures. For this, I suggest that you go to the Empower B2, but B2 level grammatical structures will be things like passive forms. It will be the second and the third conditionals. It will be reported speech. It could be hypothesizing in the future, and so on and so forth. So you're going to make a list of these verbs and these grammatical structures, and then what you will do is you will try to practice transforming sentences using different structures and keeping the same meaning. Okay, I'm going to give you one example of this. What if I say, I will do your homework provided you lend me your car for the weekend? So I'm using here a conditional, a cause, and a consequence using provided. Okay, now what if I want to change it using the word unless? Okay, because unless is another conditional. So in this case, I will say, I will not do your homework unless you lend me your car for the weekend. Or of course, it will be correct to say, I won't do your homework unless you lend me your car for the weekend. So doing exercise like this is going to give you a lot of flexibility in the use of the language, and you will see precisely what kinds of structures could be similar to others. In other words, how you can express the same meaning using different words if using a different structure. This is part of what is assessed in the B2 level in Cambridge's B2 First. The flexibility in the use of the language. So I suggest that you do this, that you review your multi-word verbs, your phrasal verbs, and that you review the grammatical structures that are appropriate to the level, so that you can see how you can modify a sentence and say the same thing in different words. Okay, so let me finish this lesson just with some concluding remarks. First of all, we need to remember parts 2 and 3 are worth 1 mark. That means that every correct answer gives you 1 point. Now in part 4, a correct answer is 2 marks and a partially correct answer is 1 mark. Okay, so this means that if your question is absolutely correct, you get 2 points, and if it's partially correct, you get 1 point. Now another thing that is important for you to remember is that there are 28 marks in total. That means that if you have all of the correct answers in this section of the test, you will get 28 points. And you need only 18 points. You need only 18 correct answers, 18 points, in order to obtain the B2. So I want you to pay attention to this, because if you see, you have lots of opportunities to get the B2, because you can miss 10 points and still be a B2. And of course, if you have all of the answers correct, you will not have a B2, but you will have a C2, and this will give you the opportunity to get a lower score in another part of the test and still get the B2. So you have to take the advantage and make as many points as you can in that section, so that you can later take advantage of those points in other sections of the test where you probably are a little weaker or where you don't feel so sure about. And this is basically what you need to do. So I will post some practice exercise on Classroom. Please feel free to answer any questions. If you have them, you can write to me by the Facebook Messenger, or you can just type your answers on Classroom. Good luck with your tasks. Have a good week, and I will be seeing you next time. Good luck.